This is a the glacial map of Ohio, and I got this off the Department of Natural Resources website. They don't share, so I apologize. This is not a very good picture of this. The red are all the glacial deposits with sand and gravels here in Stark County. We really, for the most part, have, I think, very well drained to moderately well drained soils. We do have our areas that are problems. But the red would be cane terraces and the eskers. Yellow areas are like outwash areas with well-drained sands and gravels. The dark greens and the lighter greens are till plains. And you'll notice that we have a till plain to the east of Plain Township, like the Washington area, Neversillian. Those areas, the soils there are all developed on till plains. And the tills are not well graded, or the clays are still in those soils. So they're clayier materials. The western side of the county is the same way. You've got, in the area of the Tuscarawas, you had what was the old Dover drainage, but to the west of that is a till plain, and you've got moderate draining soils because that is till. Same thing here, similar photo, but you can see the darker the material, or the darker the lines are on there, the more material there is. We have in the area of the Tuscarawas River, you guys know where the gravel pits are, south of Massillon. The gravel deposits in that area are 200 to 250 feet deep, so the glaciers really brought them a prize there. This is what I envision if you were standing down in Paris Township, what the area would have looked like with the glaciers on it. Do we want to take a break?
Go ahead and get it done.
Okay. I may need some help on that. Okay.
Maybe just to summarize all that Debbie's kind of gone over. The history or the geology of this area has dictated a lot of what we do as installers and the soils that we work in. You know, she talked about the northeast corner of Alliance, how that's ground moraine. Well, we all know how bad that area is up there to work in. Or you get the Hartville areas and you get those haystacks, if you will. You can think of different jobs you've worked on in those hills of sand. That's where they're coming from. The outwash plains that we see down in Paris Township, that's coming from glacial outwash that we deal with. And again, so we get Hartville with sand and gravel. Plain in Jackson, we get sand and gravel down in Paris by some fluke. Then you've got the glaciation boundary in the southeastern corner of the county where we get shallow bedrock. We don't have that issue to the north. So all these things have dictated how we have to design systems that Debbie's gone over here. And I think it's useful to know. And I think what we're going to do is really get down to the nuts and bolts on the soils themselves. Just the first part of that was just to give you some background of how this stuff arrived here, now how we actually get down to designing systems in particular soils.
Okay. Soils are usually mapped as soil horizons. These are usually fairly continuous layers of materials that have distinct characteristics that are produced by the soil forming process. In other words, they might have the same parent material, might have been distributed by the same agent, say either a stream or the glaciers in the area, and they were formed on the same drainage location, such as a toe slope position. Soil scientists typically will do a soil profile, which is usually about the first 2 meters of the soils. They'll look at the O-horizon. We usually, when we're out evaluating, O-horizon would be the organic rich material. It's usually about the top 2 inches. Then we'll see A, which is a mixture of 45% normally of mineral soil. It usually has about 25% moisture, about 25% air space in that. And this is very active as far as the biology goes. This is where a lot of like our pre-treatment systems and our mounds and everything, we're counting on those soils in the top 2 layer to act on that sewage from that. And that's one of the reasons why when we install one of those systems, we want to make sure it's dry, so we're not compacting and killing those organisms that are in that soil and closing off our soil spaces. And the B horizon, that's usually a little bit lighter in color, and it has usually the accumulation of the clays in that area, and there's usually an accumulation of either iron or manganese, and that's why you're seeing the colors, because you're seeing iron and manganese in an oxide form, so you get kind of rusty looking material in that area. Soil scientists normally call from B up through the A horizon what they call the solum, which is actually the soil. The C horizon is like pre-weathered parent materials. And it's normally in a bedrock situation where you have no glaciation. You usually pick up sandstone, siltstone, bits of shale, or whatever your parent material is. Soils are usually formed by the weathering process. You get exposure to freeze and thaw, so you'll get a physical action of breaking up the disintegrating rock into smaller parts, so you have bigger surface areas in that area. And then you start adding some organic matter, and you get root action going on in there, and so you actually will increase your surface area and get water into those areas. There are some chemical reactions that are going on in this area where your iron and your manganese materials would be oxidized or changed. You might get some silica being dissolved from your layers up above and then redeposited. And how many of y'all heard the term fragipan? That is normally what you're seeing is a silt being partially dissolved by the groundwater, and then it'll hit another, like an organic horizon or a horizon that might have some calcium carbonate in it, some lime in it, and it'll reprecipitate out, and you'll get a hard pan. Excuse me. Well, with the addition of the organic matter, usually you'll get a soil formation. Soils take thousands of years to form. Excuse me. And soils normally are controlled as far as their thickness and where they're located at by their parent material, climate, relief, the organisms that are added, and time. I don't know, most of us all know that if we go to an area that's not glaciated in here and we go to the top of a hillside, we're not going to see soil there. We're going to get down about 8-10 inches, and we're going to hit bedrock. And we can't set a septic system in that. soil structures that we normally see in the area would be granular, which would be like spherical or roughly spherical soil structures. These are usually 1 to 10 millimeters in diameter, and that structure is normally found in your topsoils, in your A horizons or in your O horizons. Clady, which usually consists of, you'll find that in clayier soils, are flat, what they call PEDs. And PED is just how it breaks in the soils. Most of those are less than 2 centimeters thick, but a clay structure would not let water go in a downward movement. Usually you'll see water movement in a clay soil, and so we try to avoid clay soils. It would actually be considered a restrictive soil horizon if you came into a clay soil. You wouldn't want that. If you're on a hill slope and you have water and it goes into a clay soil, you're going to see it come out as a seep further down the slope. A lot of our silt loams in the area and our silty clay loams in the area have blocky structure. The PEDs come out in almost cubes, and you'll have them come out in a size range of 5 to 50 millimeters, which is like a medium to coarse. And they will be angular, subangular. Angular would mean they're almost square. You're almost getting a cube out of that. But those are normally found in silt loams. Then in our clay loams, we would normally find prismatic or columnar structures. And how many of you guys have seen where you'll get it in a droughty situation, you'll go out to a lot that has a lot of clay, and the ground is broken up into hexagonal little patterns. Those are actually the PEDs in the soil, and it's a very large PED. And if you watch it rain, the water goes down inside those PEDs, then it ponds, and then it'll dry up, and you'll see it crack. And it'll crack right along those PEDs. And you know, if you've got something like that, you really don't want to be installing in that soil. You want to move someplace else on the lot where you don't have those prismatic or columnar soils. Okay?
Debbie, can I add something? This is what we're looking at when we're down in the test hole, and you guys are looking at us like we're crazy, and we're rolling it around, and we're ribbing it out and everything. But these are the things we look at to be able to determine how deep you can go into the soil with your leach field.
Now we have structuralist structures. Imagine that. And I would consider single grain to be structuralist. It's single grain. When you pull it out, it's sand. So it's going to be individual grains, and it's going to be a very rapid water movement through those soils. Massive would be like when you take the backhoe bucket through a soil, and you get this big smear, and that's all you get. And you take a trowel and you pull it away, or you take a screwdriver and you pull it away, and it pulls that apart, and there is no breaks in that soil. It's gooey, it's clay, because you don't have any kind of open pore space in that soil. So you're not going to get any air, and you're not going to get any treatment, and the water's not going anywhere with that. This is found this on one of the Wisconsin. A guy asked, which one would you want on your parcel as far as soil structures go? You have granular. This is like a columnar, subangular blocky, and this is your clay. This is going to take a long time to get any kind of vertical movement in this area because of the hillsides. You're going to see the water come out the side of the slope.